when Black women go missing, it's ignored. When Rosa Parks did what she did with this movement, it was kind of ignored. And it's kind
Yeah.
of what I really loved about the rebellious life of Mrs. Rosa Parks is the fact that who knew that she was broke? Because from our perspective, it looked like she was banking dollars all the way through her whole entire life. Who knew she was broke? Who, you know what I mean? Who knew that she grew up with this intense fire in her belly when it came to racism? Who knew that she lost her job? Who knew that she had a husband that was affiliated with the Scottsboro? Girl, the things that you brought up in this documentary that
Right.
nobody knows, which brings me to this. Why do you think that those are some of the reasons why there hasn't been a documentary about Rosa Parks? Do you think that it's been safer for people to just lean into that narrative about this little small, diminutive woman who sat on the bus because her feet were tired? And it wasn't so much about her feet being tired as it was her being tired of being Black and being mistreated.
Well, which she would say all the time. I keep telling people when I said I was tired, I wasn't any more tired than after any workday, right? Like you guys are misconstruing the word tired. I am tired of Black people being treated this way. And I have been since I was 8 years old, seeing my grandfather protect our house from the KKK. Like I am
Right.
tired, not, ooh, long day at work. Yeah. So I don't know, honestly, because I just find it so interesting. And maybe that was the thing. Maybe people wanted to do the comforting story. And maybe they felt because the story is so comfortable, it went from A to B, right? Like Rosa Parks sat on a bus and then got a statue. What else is there to tell? That's not a doc. That's not even a short. That's a 4-minute piece. I don't know if that would be the reason why, but when Yoruba and Johanna had said that, there's never been a doc on Rosa Parks, like a full length doc. That was kind of my reaction. Like, I'm sure I believe you, but let me just Google this to make sure because I couldn't believe it seems so insane. But again, I think you're right. If you believe that her story runs the gamut from A to B and not the gamut from A to Z, then you think, what's there to tell a doc about? We know exactly what she did. Every seventh grader knows Rosa Parks and what she did. Sat on the bus. That's it. And I think the details of her life that were so interesting to me, not just being broke, but the number of times, again, she would chide reporters in the nicest of ways who would talk about, aren't you glad you left the South? Because here in Detroit, and she's like, there's racism here, right? She would like literally tell people what they sometimes did not want to hear. Fascinating, fascinating. So we knew immediately it would be an incredible doc because it was the twist on the story you think you know, and almost everything you think you know is wrong.
Absolutely. I mean, I contacted you immediately after I saw it because I was just so full and so fired up by what I had witnessed. I didn't know that as much as she was associated with Dr. Martin Luther King, she was a fan of the Black Panthers and Malcolm X, which is the complete antithesis of what everybody thinks that she was standing for. You know what I mean?
Right.
She seemed to be a woman who was a fan of anybody that wanted to right or wrong, regardless
And
of what side of that
right,
they were on.
anybody going this direction in progress for Black people, that's the bus she was on, right?
Exactly.
And I think, and I think that probably also plays a role in the lack of understanding her, right? Well, that seems contradictory. Dr. King makes sense. Malcolm X, I don't know. The Black Panthers, So I think it makes other people comfortable. I think for Black people, we're used to that, right? We're used to being in spaces where it's like part of your job is to make other people comfortable. And I think we all get to the age, usually for me, it was like around 30, and maybe for other people, it's younger or older, where you stop trying to make other people comfortable. Like if they're having an issue with your hair or the color of your skin or how you speak, like you just are like, this is clearly a you problem and not a me problem. And I do think a lot of what happened in the understanding of Rosa Parks was like people wanted the simple narrative. Don't give me complication. I want the arc to go from here to there. Boom. And then at the end, she gets to lie in state, and then she gets a statue. How hard can that be? Versus, well, this is complicated. I always like the messy and complicated, and I think it always makes for a better documentary.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, you are like an OG in the news arena. Girl, you are, especially when it comes
Old,
to
old.
no, not old, but seasoned, well seasoned. You're a well seasoned woman in the news arena. That's a Black woman, and that's important because there aren't that many of us in that space. So I just want to acknowledge you for that
Oh,
and say that. But
it,
I
I
hear
feeling like I have to say stuff when I have the opportunity to call out things that I think are bullshit or wrong or badly done or badly centered or badly framed. Like I have a lot of credibility. I've done this for a long time. I've done a really long time. And I'm self-employed, right? I absolutely like if it's not me, then who's gonna do it? You know, who's gonna be the person who said I've sat in on a zillion TV network meetings. I know exactly how it goes. A lot. So I do think for me it always feels like, well, then I think you have a responsibility to say this framing is wrong. It doesn't have to be this way. Why are we framing this story versus that story? Look who we're centering. Look who we're making the hero. Look at why. Why are we doing this? I think that's
yeah,
important.
yeah. But I know that you've also you're working on, if you haven't done it already, established a curriculum based
Yeah.
on story for schools. Can you tell me a little bit about that before we pop
Yeah.
out?
We partnered with the Ford Foundation, who've been really amazing to again where students learn about Rosa Parks is kind of at least I did in about seventh or eighth grade, and so we knew we wanted to get to middle schoolers who are going to read about Rosa Parks and make sure that they had the actual narrative, the factual narrative in their hands. And the funny thing about middle schoolers is that well, anybody who's ever had a middle schooler in their life knows like those are truth tellers. You want a truth teller?
Ooh, honey, yes, they'll let you know quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Be prepared. Like they are, and so it's been so interesting to see that how much they aren't struggling with Malcolm X, Dr. King, right? They're like, yep, makes perfect sense. She was going to use by any means necessary to get the things that she wanted, and it made a lot of sense for her to have multiple paths and people who she respected and thought were smart and really down for the cause. So I think in some ways they're much more comfortable with the things that older people are uncomfortable with. They totally grasp a contradictory narrative, right? They're like, "Yep, makes perfect sense that that's how someone would behave," and they're fine with things that don't make sense or things that seem messy and complex. And I've really loved that about middle schoolers, although, yes, they are the harshest. I know you're the curvy critic, but boy, they are like the meanest critics in the world. But they are hardcore about it. And I think this curriculum was going to be really helpful for those students who really actually want to understand in more depth the accurate story of Rosa Parks.
Absolutely. It's streaming right now on Peacock. Soledad O'Brien, you are my girl. I love you so much. I love what you're doing with your new production company. I love these films that you're doing. I love that you navigate in the doc space because I too love documentaries, as you know. And I really want to just take the time to thank you and let you know how much I appreciate you in the space, how much I appreciate what you're doing, and how much I immensely appreciate you carving out some time for me after you sent your kid off to
Oh
school.
my God, it was my pleasure. And that event was so nice. I mean, kudos to you. You did it was a beautiful night and some really fantastic docs. I mean, there's so many that I was like, oh, I need to see that. Oh, I haven't seen that. Oh, I need to see that. So really wonderful. It was fun. It was really fun to see people getting up and talking about their process and thanking people and how they got to and really I think all the awardees so spoke about centering the people whose stories they were telling, right? Like it's nothing without the people who've agreed to be in the story. And so it was a wonderful night at the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards. So thank you for including me in that too.
Oh, I'm so glad you were able to attend and congratulations on your nomination for
Thank,
that too. It was great. Yay.
thank you. And thanks for having me on the podcast too.
Oh, yes, girl. Thank you for coming. I cannot even tell you this made my day, my week, my month, my year. I'm telling you, I'm so excited. I can't even stand myself right now.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Soledad, thank you so much.
You bet.
Bye.
So long. Thanks for having me. Take care.
You too.